Now, I didn't join this race last November, as a lot of other candidates did, because at the time I thought that this race was something that probably would just continue to see the incumbent reelected. But I became more and more concerned about this campaign as the legislature met and they started making more deeper cuts in public education. I'm a teacher, and I've been a teacher for 21 years. I also served on the board of the Alamo Community College District at one time, so I understand the importance of education, both public education and higher education. And after the cuts that were made in 2011, I became very, very concerned about what was going on in the state legislature, or the cuts that were made, I should say, in 2012, that with the encouragement of some other people, I decided I should get into this campaign, if for no other reason to ensure that there are voices speaking out for public education, not making any more cuts, in fact, restoring the cuts that were made. Well, the voting history of the district has been 60% Republican, 40% Democrat, give or take a percent or two each election for the last 20 years. But that's predominantly because you've had incumbent Republicans who've held those offices for so long. For example, you've had Lamar Smith, who's been in Congress for over 20 years in the 21st Congressional District, which overlays about 80% of the 25th Senatorial District. And then you've had Jeff Wentworth in there as a senator for 20 years in that district. And you've had other state representatives who've been in the district for many years. And they haven't had a lot of strong Democratic challengers. So I guess the best way to look at it is, what choices have independents or Democrats really had except to keep reelecting the incumbents in those races? And particularly in the 25th Senatorial District now, there is no incumbent. And I believe that makes it an entirely different race than what we've seen over the last 20 years for our Senate district. And that, I think, is a key ingredient in this race, besides the fact that the person who won the Republican primary really hasn't even lived in the district a year. So the likelihood of people in the district, in Senate District 25, knowing her, knowing about her, what she stands for, what she wants to do, is pretty slim. Now, I, on the other hand, have lived in this district for 25 years. I've lived in Bexar County for 40 years. I've raised a family in the district. I've worked in the district. I've played in the district. I've prayed in the district. I've buried friends and family members in this district over the last 25 years. And I think that I have a much better understanding of what the people in Senate District 25 would expect from a representative. Well, I think health care is an important issue in this state. Texas ranks at the very bottom of providing health care for children, for senior citizens, for disabled. I've been a special needs teacher for the last 5 years. I've worked with disabled children, and I don't think that the state of Texas has stepped up to the plate to ensure their health, and they're among the most needy citizens that we have. I believe the responsibility of any government is to provide for the safety and the well-being of its citizens. And, that means having police and fire and EMS services. That means providing good education. That means providing health care for those who can't afford it or don't have it available to them. Those are some basic services that government should supply. And I think that's one of the things that the Texas legislature has not done properly for the people in Texas. So health care is a big concern of mine as well. I think beyond that, there's other issues that are important in our district, the 25th Senatorial District. Water is an important issue. I know all of us in Texas face a crisis in water. The state developed a water plan in the mid-1990s. At the time they first developed it, it included building dams, setting up regional water districts to manage water, conservation programs, all of those things. And the estimated cost at that time was less than $5 billion to implement that plan. Since that was proposed, every 5 years they upgrade the plan, but they don't fund it, to where right now the estimated cost for the same water plan, upgraded to meet the growing needs, is $53 billion. If the state doesn't step up and take financial responsibility for ensuring that water plan is fully funded and developed, what's it going to cost in another 15 years? $100 billion? I think that's part of the problem with the legislature. They're not dealing with the most significant issues that affect our daily lives. You know, transportation is a big concern for people in my district. You know, I don't support putting toll roads over existing roads, but I recognize we do need to meet our transportation needs. Part of the problem is we don't have the money for our transportation needs because we've been diverting money from our gasoline tax for years. Instead of taking all of the money that was pledged to transportation and using it for those purposes, it gets diverted for other purposes. Sometimes it just sits in funds to add to a balanced budget, which is an imaginary figure. We really know we're not balancing the budget when we're withholding putting money into roads, we withhold putting money into hospitals that should be using that money, and we keep it in a little fund that we say, well, this helps us balance our budget. You know, it's smoke and mirrors a lot of times what's being done in Austin. You know, and I think that we need common sense solutions to some of these problems. That's what I want to do when I go to Austin.